Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Link Thompson. We'll be discussing his fantastic memoir, Honoring My Creator. Available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. But guys, listen, if you want to gather everything that Link has to offer, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site, creators2015voice.com. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to purchasing his book, Honoring My Creator, you still got to go to Amazon and barnesandnoble.com to purchase the book. But you're definitely going to want to head to his personal site. This way you can stay abreast with everything that Link has going on. And one more time, that's creators2015voice.com. And just so you're aware, 2015 is the numerical value. So it's the number 2015voice.com. And I will say that Link was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business. Author Reputation Press Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, well, make sure you're giving yourself the best gift you could possibly give, and you contact ARP. You can find out more information on them at authorreputationpress.com. Sit back, strap in, and get ready for a wonderful ride. Link, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you today?
Oh, and it's my privilege. I'm just fine, and I'm so excited to hear how you phrased my book. That's a very positive feeling I get from that. I wanted to just add one thing. I found it on Google as well in all languages. That's
Wow.
something that was a surprise to me, but I can find it in my home language of Norway and any other language in the world on Google. So that's a nice thing to know. And other than that, I'm doing fine, sir.
Absolutely. That is incredible. And thank you very much for adding that piece in there. Guys, listen, it's a memoir, right? So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, let's listen to what Link has to say. Link, first and foremost, man, honoring my creator. Tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
Well, honoring my creator is kind of what I wanted to bring out is the smooth working relationship between our creator and my inner voice that I had throughout my entire life. And life full of blessings. And it all started way back when I was a farm boy. I was looking for some pennies one day that I had lost out in the prairie, and I couldn't find them. And so I asked him over and over where they are, but he really didn't bring me to my pennies. But throughout my entire lifetime, he brought me to lots of blessings that were much greater than those pennies. And I've just had a blessed life throughout. And of course, when you have to help out the Lord a little bit and help out our Creator a little bit by working hard, you have to learn how to work hard all your life, which is I learned on working on a farm. And then when I went on to go join the Air Force, the military, just so I would have a place to eat and sleep, you have to work hard there too. And if you work hard, blessings will happen. They will happen, and surely it all starts with your love and belief in following our Creator, Daddy, because his nature is to be good to you at all times, take care of you all times. He's a very positive influence through your inner voice. And, of course, that led to some of the greatest moments in my life of flying Air Force fighters, flying all the way up to 65,000 feet, going faster than the speed of sound by twice the speed of sound. And
Wow.
And also after that, the career ended, and I ended up in the airlines. Got to fly the biggest airplane on the earth, the 747. It has 18 wheels on it, and it'll hold about over 400 people. And I got to fly that all over the world. And as a result of that, I got to see so many different religions, visit so many different religions all throughout the world, all through the Far East, all the way up into China, and all the way through the islands. And what I did find out is, they all have their own beliefs and so forth. But the thing that scares me about religion, sometimes they get political and they separate. but we all have the exact same creator. And this creator made us all the same way. We all bleed red, and we all have interchangeable parts. So we all should be looking at our creator as one people. This started from day one, from Adam and Eve. And so it's just the simple thing of recognizing who our creator is and what he is composed of. I look at our creator as he had to be pretty much an energy source in our universe in order for everything to be worked. Everything that happens in our in our universe is energy related. And of course, our laws of energy, if you study them in school, you will find out that there's all different kinds of energy, and they're crazy enough. They are all interchangeable, but they're never lost. They're always in this one universe. And one of those sources of energy is electrically related. And if you study our Creator's Word, which I do, but it doesn't necessarily make it a religion just because it's His Word. It just so happens that he had to get his word out there somehow, and that sort of happened with the Jewish nation because they were available spiritually. He needed somebody that he could talk to spiritually, and when I say spiritually, he needed to find somebody, some group of people that he could relate to in a kind of electrical, spiritual sense, that relationship. And he did that, and he wrote that in his word as well. The very first chapter, he says he was going to make all of we humans, all of us, every single one of us in his image. And what that means is if our creator is a little bit electrical in his way of doing things and business, well, then we are too. And sure enough, if you look at Siri, just ask Siri, she will tell you that we have electrical circuitry in our body called our neural system. So in my opinion, that's the reason, and that's the way how our creator is able to work with us individually or as a group. And religion is not a factor. It does not even have to be considered because we're all created exactly alike.
Next question that I want to get into is your title. Mm-hmm. It absolutely sucks you in. It's very engaging. Now, I'm curious about the title for multiple reasons. Because of the interest and the curiosity that it piques, but also knowing that your book, as you stated, is not a religious book. There's religious undertones, but you wanted to make sure that it was known that this is not a religious book. So talk to us about the connection that title has to the narrative and why you chose that title to be the representation for your book, even though it's not specifically for religious readers.
As I kind of led in my opening, the reason I like that term, and I was surprised that it was available for me to use. I thought it had been used up a long time ago. So when I published the book, I was surprised I even had a chance to even use that title, Honoring Our Creator. But that, to me, is just really a way I look at this. I got to know quite a few of the astronauts, too, a couple of them that walked on the moon. And the one thing that they came back with, and one of their main headlines was, there are no such thing as atheists in outer space. Because when you see the outer space and when you fly up to like 65,000 feet, which is as high as I've ever been, but you see there's a world out there that definitely shows that there's a creator of higher source, and honoring our creator seemed to be the most obvious. But the biggest reason I went with honoring our creator is the fact that the word God, used a lot of religions really use the word God, and they as their source or higher deity. The problem is with that is there's so many different definitions of the word God, so many variants about it, but there's only one creator, and that's what I would like to make the biggest impression about, or leave in the minds of everyone, is there's only one creator, and also the way he has tied to our inner small voice, it makes for a really smooth working relationship between our Creator and our inner voice, because he sure is. He created a situation where he is totally connected with us at all times. The only thing we got to be careful of, since he's electrically related, we have got to make sure that we don't get crossways with electrical currents. The point is, I'm sure he's a positive, has a positive force. And of course, the other is the negative. We got to be careful about doing anything negative. We might get forgotten, electrically speaking. But that's a little bit oversimplification, but it seems to work because he wrote in his word that we are created in his image. So that seems to answer that question enough for my satisfaction anyway.
Again, here in the line with Link Thompson. We're discussing his wonderful book, Honoring My Creator, available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, but make sure you're checking out his personal site, creators2015voice.com, to gather more information on everything Link has in store. Link, next question that I'd love to go into, and really a curiosity for myself, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting before you began on this journey?
Well, there's going to be, first of all, the more I started writing, I started realizing that my life is full of blessings, not just one here, one there, but just full of them. And they all tied back to our connection with our Creator. And it was very obviously that was what that was the one point, one focus point, that really explains everything good that happened to me throughout my entire life, was my connection to my inner small voice. And and the other thing along the way, this book is dedicated to the donkey. This book is dedicated to the donkey, and that's you'll see that as you open the book and say, well, what? Why would that be? Why would that happen? Well, if it's not a religion? Well, our Creator, he needed to get his word out there somehow. He needed to get his word out on everything about himself and everything that he wanted us to know about him. But the only thing is, when he created people from the beginning, when I first started, they probably didn't know that they had an inner voice, or they didn't sense it, or if they didn't know how to understand it or read it. So a lot of times they were, doing well way back in the beginnings, way back in the Neanderthal days, and during those time periods, they probably didn't recognize that inner small voice was there, but they just didn't know how to answer it. But these people, for years and years and years, got hung up on idols, and they would show their appreciation for the creation of the person that they felt in their heart and soul, but they didn't know how to handle it spiritually. So they handled it physically, the idols, and that went on for years. And I'm very close admirer of all the Native Americans. And first they think of the great white buffalo, and I understand how that came about, because I had up in where I grew up in North Dakota, we had a lot of Native Americans living around us. So I totally understand their situation, of how they pass on to their appreciation to our Creator through the great white buffalo. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people say, oh, that's a religion. Well, it doesn't make any difference. It's irrelevant. The point is, they were recognizing that there was a Creator. They just didn't have the science at the time to understand that was happening. Aristotle brought it out that there was some force that was making all of these energy equations happen, and he wouldn't acknowledge there was a Creator, but he kind of had to say somebody out there caused all these things in our wonderful world to come into existence. And of course, he started way back, just as the Bible was starting to get canonized. The evolution of our Creator's word is very important to understand how that came about. Now, people would pick up on that and say, oh, that's a religion. Well, and that's where I was heading with this, and I kind of got sidetracked with the Neanderthals era and all the Native Americans. But the point is, people say, okay, well, the Creator's word turns out to be the Bible. the Jewish nation was the first that had access to. Well, it just so happens around the Creator, or around our Earth, that our Creator made. Well, He put people in Africa. He put people in every continent there was. He had a creation everywhere. And you think, well, why did He pick the Jewish nation? Well, in my opinion, most everywhere in the world, if you've been to everywhere in the world, as I've had the good fortune in Africa, they can live pretty well in that continent. They can live very well in the Europe continent, except for one place. They can live very well in the American continent. All these people that our Creator created. So, and their respect that they showed for our Creator, because they probably knew He was there, just didn't know how to recognize and how to appreciate. But everybody seemed to have an idol of some sort. However, there was one group of people that lived in probably the most desert, hardest, nastiest area in the planet to live in, day after day after day, day after day after day, and that was the Jewish nation. And they had one other situation that was really kind of just really becoming an issue for them, and because they had been enslaved by the Egyptians, so they didn't really get to have their own idol. They had calves, idol calves. They weren't really allowed to use it. So this group of people, the Jewish nation, enslaved by the Egyptians, turns out that was about the same time period as there was an alphabet. The Phoenician alphabet was coming out, the Greek alphabet. All means of recording was coming out, and ink and the paper and all those kinds of things. But at the same time, these people weren't allowed to have their own idol, but they were reachable spiritually. They were become spiritually accessible to our Creator, so our Creator could now make His entrance onto onto His human creation and enter their lives. And it just so happened, in my opinion, that it happened in the Jewish nation because they were accessible, because that's all they had. They weren't allowed to work through idols. They had to all of a sudden find themselves connected right straight to the source of all creation, the Creator Father Himself. And that just evolved. And over time, the collection of all of the spiritual connections with our Creator, to shorten this a little bit, turned into our collected and written on scrolls, and then collected later on, and turned out, in my opinion, turned into our Bible, that our Creator's Word. I look at His Creator's Word, and I don't think our Creator's Word should ever be taken as religion. That just happened to be His one source and means to make Himself known on this earth, and that He created. And that's how that began, in my opinion, that's how that occurred. But the timeline was such that they had a means of recording it on paper and ink and so forth. And then it finally was canonized, later on, in around 70 A.D. But it also includes one of the greatest things, too, during that early time period, the early message that was being collected as prior to, I'll start, it was collected about 4,000 years ago. But anyway, in there was the prophecies that were coming along, that were developing within His Word, that was out there in scrolls. And the scrolls that our Creator was going to come and live with us, was going to come and meet with us and live with us and become a part of His creation. Well, those were prophecies. But as I said earlier, my book is dedicated to the donkey. Well, it just so happens that the donkey happens to be a part of every single prophecy that involved our Creator sending the message to all the people in the Jewish nation. He was sending the message that He was coming as His Son, Jesus, or the Son of God. At that time, did not have a name. And all the prophecies involving that he was coming all had this donkey as a part of the prophecy. Well, and then of course we had the Christmas celebration of Jesus recently, and of course at the birth of Jesus, the donkey was present there as well, and we all know that. And then of course then Jesus he authored all of his Gospels, and they become a part of the canonized Bible, all 66 books. And the thing is, what we read in there, of course, when Jesus went back to Jerusalem to meet Caesar and his situation, he also was riding a donkey. And so it wasn't Caesar. I forget the name of the guy because that's not important to me. But what was important was that Jesus went there to represent our Creator and his situation, and he paid for all of our situation. I don't want to call sins because I don't necessarily like that word. He just paid for our acceptance to our Creator, no matter what, back to him when the time came for that we would pass on. But that's another part of the book that I can go into a little bit deeper. But that's what I'm trying to get here is the book is dedicated to the donkey because the donkey is a factor, and I believe in the situation here of the authenticity of the entire Bible and God's Word, because that donkey has a natural created cross on its back, has a natural created cross, and in the book I put pictures of that. And that donkey was created many thousands of years before Jesus came along. So to me, there's a reason for that. And since he was a part of all these scenes involving Jesus in that situation, I think there's a connection there. And I have treated that in the book as kind of like being a source of authentication for God's Word, and also what everything he said is 100% accurate. And I'll take a little breather from right there.
Fantastic. Listen, I absolutely love it. And guys, you know what I love even more is we've discussed so much information so far today, yet we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, there's still so much left to be discovered. You know what you have to do, okay? I could talk to Link for hours. A, the information that we're talking about is just that profound. B, I am just that engulfed in the conversation. But I have to remember, this is not about me, okay? This is about him. You guys know what you have to do. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Creators2015voice.com are the places you have to go. Honoring My Creator is the title you have to pick up, and Link Thompson is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Let's grow, let's develop, and let's educate ourselves. And it starts with this amazing narrative. Link, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you. I appreciate it.